All right, everybody. People are just starting to join us here, so we'll wait a few minutes before we get started. And as you're coming in, if you want to just type into the comments where you're coming in from, that would be great. And we'll go from there. I see Ray from Montana and Kristen coming in from Appleton. Alex from Madison. Let's see. We've got Henry from Milwaukee. Monica coming in from Los Angeles. Monica's our intern. Let's see. We've got
Donna Marie coming in from Rochester, New
York.
Yes,
most importantly, yes, absolutely. And I'm coming in from Lake Geneva. Got someone coming in from Northern Illinois. Let's see. Got Bob coming in from Cleveland. And let's see. We've got a few others coming in, but I always like to start on time, and I've already broken that rule. So my name is Dave G., and I'm the founder of the Entrepreneurship Educators Association. We're a brand new organization dedicated to helping high school educators around the world create more innovators and entrepreneurs. We started a Facebook group back in January of this year, dedicated to helping these high school teachers, whether they're teaching entrepreneurship curriculum, managing DECA organizations or FBLA, or running makerspaces, et cetera, et cetera. And we have almost 500 teachers around the world now. And one of the things we've done, like any entrepreneurship is do discovery. And we wanted to find out what our customers or prospective customers wanted. And one of the things that they said, in addition to an international pitch competition, which we're doing, and free teaching resources, is amazing guest speakers. And more specifically, there were two big topics that they want to discuss. One was women in entrepreneurship, and the other one is social entrepreneurship. So last week, we had our first show with Dr. Michelle McGrath, and today I'm delighted to introduce you to Dr. Donna Marie Cozine. And we just met yesterday.
Yes.
And we've already become good friends. So what we're going to do, we're going to keep this fast-paced, fun, informative. If during the show, if you want to ask questions, we'll answer those probably at the end. We're going to do a quick fire for about 15 minutes. And then when we're done, we'll kind of go through questions that you have. If you can't make all of the show, what we'll do is edit, put it on YouTube, on the Entrepreneurship Educators YouTube channel, and let's roll. So first of all, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? And by the way, one important point, I go by G, and Dr. Cozine goes by DMC. So you've got DMC and G today. So, all right, DMC. So tell us a little bit about you, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Before I tell you about me, I want to thank all the educators who are on in your group, 500 strong, for what you're doing for and with high school students across the world. Amazing. And to you, G, for establishing the group. So I am Donna Marie, also known as DMC, and I am an entrepreneur. I became an entrepreneur by accident. You've heard the story or the book of the accidental tourist. Well, I am the accidental entrepreneur. Back in 2012, I had this idea to start a charter school for the arts here in Rochester, New York. And I had been a building leader. I had led a school with over 500 students and 60 staff members. So I thought, how hard could it be? It can't be too hard to start a charter school. Boy, was I surprised. What I didn't realize in starting a school is that you do have to have an entrepreneurial spirit. You have to have the grit that entrepreneurs have. And as I was telling G yesterday, the reason it worked is because I refused to let it fail. So the impetus for this school was my children were 3 and 10 months old. And I had just ended a relationship with the Rochester City School District and the company I was working for called the College Board. Mm-hmm. And we had supported a number of schools through New York State called college board schools. And the city of Rochester decided they weren't going to continue that partnership. What I learned in my work with them for 5 years is that children were coming to, or students were coming to the 7th grade, reading on a 3rd grade level. And I thought, wow, if we really could give them a more strong foundational program from the early grades, we can do even more and they can have even better results. At the same time, I was thinking, where's my daughter going to go to school? And as you know, for those of you who are Common Core states, the Common Core had just come in and everyone was getting used to it and what we should do. And what they were doing was they were ripping the arts out of schools, saying, you know what, excuse me, we need more time for ELA and math. But they were really missing the point, which is that the arts grow your competencies for ELA and math, numeracy, spatial sense, listening, all of the things that we want children to be able to do is broadened. Their skills are broadened through the arts. So I created this charter school of the arts. I wrote a application to one of the 2 charter agencies in New York, along with my mother, who was a co-founder, and another man. And they said no. And I was like, oh. So a very good friend of mine said, you need to do this. There's another chartering agency and you have 6 weeks to turn around a new application. Wow. I was like, all right, I'm doing it or I'm not, right? This is it. This is the crossroad, and I'm either going to do it or I'm going to go do something totally different. So in 6 weeks, we turned around an entirely new application to a new chartering agency. And we were granted our charter on December 17th, 2013. Thank you. And we opened in September of 2014. So about 7 months. Wow. But truly, I am Irish, partially. So Murphy's Law was in full effect. And what could have gone wrong went wrong. My co-founder quit. We didn't have a building. I had 194 students scheduled to enter our program, 32 full-time staff members. And one of the board members at a board meeting, an emergency meeting, said, we need to stop right now and not go forward. We need to ask for a planning year, which we could have done. And I said, and it's the stories in my book, I said, with all due respect, I don't know where I came up with this, but with all due respect, I did not just fall off a turnip truck. I can do this, because what's going to happen to those 194 students? There are no seats left in the good schools. And I had people move up here to take these jobs. One in particular was coming up from Florida. It's like, we can't not do this. We have to do this. So the day I started with staff on Monday, like August 10th, and we still didn't have a building. No building. School was starting in 2 weeks. So on Tuesday, the 11th, I think the dates might be wrong, but the next day at 7 p.m., we got our building. Right? So my husband's a painting contractor. I was like, babe, he's like, no problem. He drops everything. He goes to the school. They won't let him into paint. On the way back, he gets into an accident, totals his work van, calls me. He's like, I'm 53 years old. I've never been into a car accident where I couldn't drive away. It was like just one thing after the other. But fast forward to today, and the school is servicing over 500 students with a very, very healthy wait list. 90 something staff members, and it is exactly the school that I dreamed of. That's fantastic. And fortunately, there were people who got on board with my dream. And that's what we need to do as entrepreneurs. We bring people along with us because it's our dream, but we need to make it the dreams of others as well, or else it won't actually come to fruition.
So, wow, there's a lot there. I mean, I think one of the core elements, especially, because, one of the groups of people that wanted this were people that are educators and wanted to become entrepreneurs. Well, it doesn't just magically happen, regardless of where you're coming from. But you innately had that entrepreneurial mindset, right? And different people have different definitions, but of identifying a problem that needs some sort of creative solution and having the intestinal fortitude to see it through, and doing discovery and, launching a beta, and you made it happen. So what, if you were to give advice to, we talk about entrepreneurship educators, but it could be any high school teacher, and they think, hey, you know what? I've always wanted to start X business. And let's say maybe they want to start as a side hustle, or, and I mean, then in a positive way, or maybe they want to jump out directly and start their own business. What are the 2 or 3 pieces of advice that you would give them?
Well, the first is that financially you have to, now starting a charter school is different. I had a salary, but since starting my own company in the last year, I don't have a salary. If I don't get contracts, I don't get money, So the first thing to understand is if you're going to go 100% into entrepreneurial life and start something from nothing, and you're not an employee of someone, you will have to make sure you have the financial stability to do that. You can find investors, you can find angel investors, you can look for grants, startup grants and things like that. But in my experience, financial stress can crush anyone, and the worry of it will stop you in your tracks. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you need to surround yourself with people who have been where you are and they are where you want to be. For instance, I currently, even before I could afford it, I joined masterminds of business people because literally I had never started a business before, right? So I wanted to know, like, what do I do? I mean, I have some ideas, but what am I doing? And I want to be, when I enter that room, I want to actually be the least successful at first, because I want everyone in that room to be doing better than me, because I want to learn from them. And then I want to be able to turn around and help others get where I am. And that has been tremendous. And also you need to find people who are going to support you and support your dream and support your business. For instance, when I started the charter school, we had a foundational board. There were 5 people on the board. And then we grew to 6 or 7. And we needed them because I needed to focus on the educational program. I needed to focus on getting kids in seats and doing all of those things and hiring teachers and also training teachers. And I needed people on my board to be finding us a building, getting us financial backing from a bank, finding out about mortgages and all of those things. So, when you start out, so my entrepreneurial journey is twofold. I have starting a charter school, but I had a whole team. And now I have just myself in this the little company that could consultdmc.com. And right now I have an assistant, a virtual assistant, and we are, we join masterminds and learn. And every day it's exciting to see where my company will go and how it will grow. But most importantly, how I will help others using my servant's heart.
So let's talk about that. Tell us about the business, and I'm saying do the pitch, but you can do the pitch. Tell us about, when I'm talking and advising entrepreneurs, I always say, tell us the market, the problem, and the solution. So tell us about who you're serving, first of all, and then maybe challenges they have and what you do. And they say never ask a double or triple.
I got you.
But you got it. You got it.
I got you. So those of you who are out there who are going into entrepreneurial life, you need to be able to say it in one sentence. I help X do what, right? So I can do a lot of things in education, but I have drilled down to really working with leaders and leadership pipelines. So my one sentence intro is I help female educational leaders effectively lead their organizations while still living the lives they deserve. You see, as female leaders, whether we're principals or superintendents, our life is a little bit different from our male counterparts. It just is. It's just the way that it is. COVID really bore out in COVID when, I was running my organization from my dining room table. My husband was leaving to go to work and I was there with my 2 kids and trying to balance all of those things. And we have a lot of, wonderful things about being a woman and a working woman and a working mom and all those things, but there are also some struggles. And no one really can help you through those struggles unless he or she has been there. And my story is that, I had started the school and, my kids went with me to school. My daughter did in the beginning and then my son. And one day I was like feverishly on my computer and my husband said to me, we didn't sign up for this. And I was like, oh, we didn't sign up for what? A credit card? Like, what did we not sign up for? And he was like, no. The kids and I did not sign up for this. When you told me you were starting this school, this is not how it was going to be. Because I didn't sell him on what happened. I was going to have a partner. We were going to each work part-time, but the guy quit 2 weeks before school started or a month before school started. So it was like the DMC show, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, that was the proverbial slap upside my head. Like, wait a minute, this is the most important person in my life. And I can't lose this, and I can't lose my children. So I started making some changes. And a couple of weeks later, he said, good job. You know, you're there for the kids, you're there for dinner and bath time, and then you put them to bed. But then you get in bed with your computer and you start again, and then you're not there for me. And I realized, okay, well, I'm making some progress. And about 18 months before I left my organization, we knew I was going to leave because my daughter was transitioning to another school, and I wanted to be present for her as I was for her whole career. And I wrote my first book, So You Want to Be a Superintendent, Become the Leader You're Meant to Be. And it outlines the system that I use to help myself get that better work-life balance, but also the system that I've used with other leaders to help them be more effective without losing themselves and without losing their families and without losing all the things that are important to them. I lost your audio.
Sorry about that. There we go. So you provide a consulting service to female educational, I'm not going to say leaders because people can be leaders and not be managers, educational administrators throughout the US or throughout the world?
You know, I haven't gone international yet. I would be open to it.
You are now, because this is on YouTube. So congratulations. Yes.
Oh, how wonderful. It's funny. There's this one woman who follows me from, I believe she's in Africa, and she says that I'm her go-to coach. So I guess I could say that I'm international, but
there you go.
Right now it's across the country.
Okay.
I also, in some instances, I also work within their systems. So I'm currently supporting 2 female superintendents, but also working with their leadership teams to really build that pipeline, to make the pipeline strong.
Okay.
Because when the people around you are doing their jobs well and efficiently, you can do your job better and more efficiently.
Okay, cool. Let's, because I know some people are trying to kind of squeeze this in quickly at the end of their day. So let's go to some questions here. So, first question is, so you said that you had a job, obviously, at your charter school. I'm not sure. I'm going to kind of paraphrase here. I'm not sure if you had 2 incomes or 1. How did you make that adjustment from getting a salary to essentially being on 100% commission?
That is a really great question. And it's funny. My husband also is an entrepreneur. He has had his own business for 30 years. And we also have another business. So we did have some other streams of income where it gave me a little bit of latitude as we came in. I'll tell you what was hard was the health benefits, to be honest with you, because 100% of my family's health benefits were covered when I was the superintendent or CEO of my organization. And now we have to cover 100% of those. But it is difficult because, you know, what most people say is once you scale and you get to a part, you need to start giving yourself a salary instead of just putting the money in the bank, right? Which is now where I'm at that point where I can start giving myself a salary each month instead of just saying all of a sudden, oh, let me write a check to my husband to pay the bills.
Right.
But I was fortunate. But if you want to go on that entrepreneurial journey, you have to plan for it. So like I said, either find some investors or, you know, kind of stockpile if you have some extra money for a little bit of time. You know, people can be creative. When we started our first, our real estate company, which is very small. Don't think I'm not like a mogul. We just have a couple rentals. We actually used equity in our own home to buy our first one.
Gotcha.
You know, so there is risk, but you have to kind of look at the risk versus the reward and your return on investment and think creatively.
So one of the risk of asking a rhetorical question, or I'll just make a statement because I had an ad agency, my first company, and I outsourced a lot of the work, the copywriters, the designers. One of the nice things about having a consulting company like yours, the startup cost relative to whatever, a publishing company or a manufacturing facility or a restaurant, I'm presuming there were not, that was one of the advantages of the model, was that you didn't have a massive amount of startup costs. Is that accurate now that I've asked a rhetorical question?
Not only is it accurate, but it is the difference for me between success and failure. I am currently in a spare bedroom in my parents' house. That's my office. So I have free internet. I have this beautiful office in my parents' home because I went to look at a space. It was like $10,000 for a year. And I was like, I'm not bringing in that money. So, finding a place, it could be in your own home, a corner, a little place where you can set up and be in the right mindset. I couldn't do it at my home because of the kids. We didn't have extra space and all those things. And also, I'm a one-woman show right now, with the exception of a part-time assistant. And I farmed things to her to handle that doesn't need my skill set, right? So, but I'm the only one right now who is coaching leaders in my business. As it grows, I can add coaches. I can train those coaches. So my overhead is very low, allows me to provide a high level of service for less right now than many of my competition.
One of the, I think the other important points that was a kind of a nuance to what you said is, you talked about being, I'm not sure, I think you said at your parents' home. One of the things I found, I was working from home, and then yes, sometimes there were kids coming in, my kids back and forth and all those other elements. But the other thing I found out is we had our office downstairs, and I would, walk past the office on the way to the kitchen. I'd walk past the office on the way to the bathroom, and I wouldn't just go to those places. I would stop. I would do some work. I would go make a sandwich, grab a beer, right? And then stop in the office and then go. And so I could never turn it off. And going somewhere, I ended up starting to go to coffee shops and ended up getting a place with relatively inexpensive rent. But I think, when you're an entrepreneur, because it's so hard to turn it off, being able to go somewhere physically to not only escape, but where you can shut the door on it.
Yes.
I get, I apologize. I'm making a statement. I don't know if you feel this way, but that physical separation allowed me to have psychological separation so I could still have a personal life. I don't know,
Yeah, I agree. And when I'm home, if I'm going to give you an example, judge me if you want. Yesterday, I did not change out of my pajamas until I had to get my son from the bus. I worked yesterday at my house in pajama pants all day, took the dog out in pajama. I'm not coming to my parents in pajama pants. I'm getting dressed. And that whole idea of having a schedule, because entrepreneurs, there are days where you might be busy 10 hours and there are other days where you might not have things scheduled, but you have to be diligent about, like today I was working on writing an article. I was working on social media, working on a landing page with my assistant, and working on letters, like all these other things, the work that comes before the work. And that, I'll tell you, has been difficult for me, the transition, because I was so used to being scheduled, and I would, leave the house at 7:15 and I would come home at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and everything would happen. And I'm finding as an entrepreneur, I like to do more of my work at night, unfortunately. And that's when my family needs me. So I might be up a little bit later, but it's figuring out what your workflow is. I'm a burster. I like to do 5 hours of work, bing, 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 whereas other people do a little here, a little there, a little there. But I might do a burst today, and tomorrow I might take it a little bit easier and just follow up on emails. So it's a whole new way of life. You're your own boss, and you have to say to yourself, would I hire me? The way that I'm acting right now, would I hire myself? And if it's a yes, then nice. If it's not, then it's reflecting and saying, well, you're getting the results you're getting because of the effort that you're putting into it. If you're putting in a mediocre effort, you're going to get a mediocre output, whether that's clients, money, mindset, whatever it is.
Okay. So last question. This is from Jesse in Houston.
Hi, Jesse in Houston.
So Jesse asked the question, I'm not sure if this person is a student or professor, but he asked, or she, could be either. Let's assume it's a she, since we're talking about women in entrepreneurship. How do you avoid the trap of the 80-20 rule, right? And I'm going to expand upon that, but specifically, I found, at least with mine, when you're starting a business, you'll take any money you can get, right? So my first gig that I had was $11,000, and I had to make cold calls for a telecom company. I had to make 600 phone calls in the first month just because I needed the money. And I had all my eggs in that basket. And the temptation was to keep doing that, but not kind of diversify the business, right? Which can get risky. So did you fall into that trap, or do you see yourself falling into that where you say, gosh, if I lost this client, I would be in really bad shape. So I need to get more clients. Again, another leading question. There you go. You're welcome.
Thanks, G. Thanks, G. So that's a really great question. And I think what I've learned, and it's almost like 2 weeks ago, I really had this epiphany, because I love every aspect of education. I love doing a lot of things. I love managing grants. I love writing grants. I mean, I could go on about the things that I love to do in education. The problem is when you cast a wide net, you actually get less clients. Mm-hmm. So it's when you niche down and people see you as she is the person who works with leadership teams, you actually get more people. Now, I've done the cash grab. For sure. Right. You know, I've seen projects and I was like, I can do that. I can support the organization and do that, but I won't do it if I don't feel good about it. Right. I won't do it if it's going to suck me away from other stuff. If I have spare time, or if I know, like if, for instance, I have 2 interns right now from a local doctoral program. So there's one project that we're working on that they're going to be able to do a lot of the legwork for me that I don't have to do, those type of things. But I think that that's natural. But the other thing that has happened is in the beginning, when I was desperate, I came across as desperate and I was not getting clients. My energy wasn't right. And now that I'm like really clear on what I want to do and who I want to work with, it's starting to come through. I got an inquiry today through my website. I mean, a legit inquiry from a school district. I've never had that before.
That's big. You get your first organic lead and you're like, organic, by the way, comes out of nowhere. It comes from efforts that might have happened, but you don't know.
Right. And I'm going to ask her, I'm going to say, is this from my advertisement in AASA? Did you know what I mean? Because I want to, I certainly want to know. And the other thing is, because I'm small, I can really get involved with, I can't take a lot of clients, but the clients that I do take, they get all of me. Right. Like I become part of their team. I'm like the invisible player on the field. And I say that like, we, and they're like, but I become a member of that team.
Right. Cool. Well, I'm militant about time, and we said we'd max out at 30 minutes. So we're going to try and commit to that. So again, Entrepreneurship Educators Association is a brand new organization. It's dedicated to helping high school teachers. So DMC was just talking about niching down and focusing on a specific group of people. So that's what we're doing. We're helping high school teachers from around the world build future innovators. We have free teaching resources. We have amazing speakers like DMC. We had Dr. Michelle McGrath last week. We've got Dr. Lori Weingart from Carnegie Mellon next week. So I have great speakers. And we have our Planet Pitch competition, which is the only international, this is a mouthful, international virtual high school pitch competition. So if you go to myeea.org, you can learn all about that. And we also have a free Facebook group, only open to entrepreneurship educators. And I always like to give the last word to our guest. If there's some sort of, I think you have a book that you'd like to share about, and how people can get a hold of you. Any final words?
Well, again, thank you everyone for what you're doing for children. I know since COVID, it has just turned our world upside down and makes our work even more important. I have 2 books. This book, So You Want to Be a Superintendent, talks about the leadership journey, and there's a story in there. And you can go to getdonnasbook.com to get this book. And my second book, and we'll put this in the liner notes, my second book was a really straight from the heart, and it's called Happy Teachers, Joyful Students, Engaged Families, because I do believe that we need to have joy in our schools in order for children to be their best selves and to learn. And you can also get that one at joyfulteachers.com, but we'll put it in the notes, and they're both free free digital downloads, or you can
Oh,
find
wow.
them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much, DMC. This will not be our last call, I'm sure. And you've got so many good insights. I mean, maybe we'll talk about entrepreneurship in charter schools. I'm literally talking to one of the largest charter schools in the country next week about their level of engagement with Planet Pitch. And so I think we could have some interesting conversations about, obviously there's a lot of pressures with a charter school, but maybe the latitude that you have to test out innovative programs as well. And again, not that traditional public schools can't or don't as well, but obviously you are afforded some of that latitude. So again, thank you so much for your time. This was great. For those of you that couldn't tune in, well, I suppose you would be watching this on a recorded anyway, but we do edit the video. And what we'll do is provide a copy of the video on YouTube. So you can just go to YouTube and type Entrepreneurship Educators, or you can go to my LinkedIn profile, David G on LinkedIn. And then obviously those of you that are in the Facebook group, the Entrepreneurship Educators Facebook group, it will be there as well. So if you would like to learn, again, any more about the Entrepreneurship Educators, just go to myeea.org. And that's it. Have a wonderful afternoon. Be safe out there. We'll see you next Tuesday, again, with Dr. Lori Weingart. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.